Hello, I'm Javier, and I'm going to be teaching you today how to play Holy Paladin in patch 11.1.0 Undermined. This is going to be very beginner-friendly. We will be going over the differences between raiding and Mythic plus healing. I'm going to add some action bars here, but firstly, this is my UI. If you would like to get it, you can get it on my Patreon. I get asked for it a lot. It's all custom-made by me, so if you do want it, you can get it there, including details, voodoo, else. So let's just add these action bars in. And we're first of all really quickly going to talk about the stats. So obviously intellect and eye level, item level, the higher that you get, is going to be better, of course. After that, just go for haste and mastery, then crit and versatility. So we're going to be starting off with the raiding rotation here. And specifically, this is a priority list from left to right, meaning left is high priority, right is low priority. There's also a few very specific things you need to understand about how a paladin works when we are healing. Of course, we do have mana as a healer, which we need to be taken care of. And we also have something really interesting as a Holy Paladin, or just as a paladin in whole, and that is your holy power. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all grayed out. However, when I use some of my spells here, you can see I've now got 1 and 2. And now I have 3, etc. So basically, this is your holy power. And we're going to generate this with some spells and spend it with others. Now, as a healer, as a holy paladin, you will need to do some DPS. You will have to do damage to actually enhance your healing. So those are the main kind of things that you need to be aware of. So our number one priority in a raiding environment is to cast this spell here, Holy Prism, on an enemy target. It fires a beam of light that scatters to strike a clump of targets. If the beam is aimed at an enemy, which we will be doing, it's going to do some damage to the enemy, but radiate out healing to 5 allies. If you aim it at a friendly target, it'll heal that one person and radiate out to damage enemies. If you do it at an enemy target, it's actually going to heal 5 allies, and that is what we will be doing. So, number one priority, use Holy Prism on cooldown and use it on an enemy. Your next priority is to use your holy power, making sure that we're not over capping it. So you'll see this spell here, Eternal Flame, is here and here on my priority list. When I'm using it here, I'm saying this is when you're maxed out on holy power, because we don't want to overcap and waste any. We have 2 options for spending our holy power, Light of Dawn and Eternal Flame. Eternal Flame was called Word of Glory, and if you are reading any other guides, etc., and see the words Word of Glory being mentioned, and you can't find it, that is because it's Eternal Flame. That is because it's replaced here in our Herald of the Sun hero talents. So Light of Dawn unleashes a wave of holy energy, healing up to 5 allied individuals in a cone in front of us. So let's see it here. There you go. You can see it fires a cone out. Now, obviously, you have to target that cone and make sure it tries to hit the maximum amount of people, which is quite difficult. Meaning, most of the time, you're going to be using Eternal Flame as your holy power spender. Heals an ally for X amount and an additional amount over 16 seconds. Healing increased when you cast it on yourself. So again, make that decision. If you can hit 5 people easily, go with, sometimes Light of Dawn. Otherwise, Eternal Flame is generally going to be your best bet. And these are the 2 ways you're spending holy power. So just to recap already, Holy Prism on cooldown on an enemy, so it radiates out and heals your allies. Spend your holy power when you're capped out at 5 on Light of Dawn or Eternal Flame. After that, we have Holy Light, a powerful but expensive spell healing a friendly target. We're only using it here if we get some buffs to it. So we have this talent here, Divine Favour. After casting Holy Prism, which is the number one priority that I've shown you, the healing of your next Holy Light is increased by 20%. Its cast time is reduced and its mana cost is halved. So as soon as I use Holy Prism, you will notice down here on my buffs, I have Divine Favour, which is what I've just said. And that can be used on Holy Light. We also have a passive, Infusion of Light. Your critical Holy Shocks empower your next spellcast. Holy Light. Healing is increased by 45%, meaning we can actually add this to our other buff, Divine Favour, the one I just spoke about. Holy Shock is this spell here. Triggers a burst of light on the enemy, dealing damage or healing, and it generates 1 holy power. So you can pretty much use this as much as you like as a sort of medium priority here. It's instant, does a good amount of healing, and generates 1 holy power. When we get criticals with it, you will get the Infusion of Light buff. So when you get that Infusion of Light buff, and then use Holy Prism to get the Divine Favour buff, use your Holy Light, because it will do a massive amount more healing, and it will have a reduced mana cost, etc. So if you have those buffs, use Holy Light. If not, go down to Holy Shock, which obviously can actually impact you getting those buffs to then use Holy Light. After that, we're going to use Judgment. This is going to deal damage to your enemy. And if you're thinking this is a damage dealer and isn't healing, you're technically wrong, but also right. But judges the target dealing damage and prevents damage dealt by the target. So rather than you, say, healing the tank, you're actually preventing the damage being done in the first place. And it also generates 1 holy power. So that's something we should be using pretty much on cooldown too on our enemies. After that, we're just going to spend holy power. And you may be thinking, I've already told you to spend it here as a high priority. Remember, we're only spending it here when we're capped out at 5 holy power. If you have 3 to 4 holy power, you could just spend it at this point in the priority. Of course, this is a healer we're talking about. Sometimes you will be changing this around a little bit depending on circumstance. It's not a rotation like a DPS would do. After that, you can use your Flash of Light. This is just a pretty simple, straightforward heal. You will actually often get holy power when using it as well. Then we can use Hammer of Wrath whenever you can. It's usually only usable on enemies that have less than 20% health and also generates 1 holy power. Lastly, Crusader Strike. Again, it's an attack we can use on cooldown that generates 1 holy power. So you're using Crusader Strike and Hammer of Wrath and Judgment to generate holy power so that you can use things like Eternal Flame or Light of Dawn to do healing. You need to use your DPS abilities to generate that holy power to actually spend on healing abilities. Let's just go through the rotation or the priority list one more time, and then we're going to go over our cooldowns and some other bits and bobs here. Number 1, use Holy Prism on an enemy. This is going to radiate out and heal 5 allies. If you're maxed on Holy Power here, use either Eternal Flame or Light of Dawn. If you have the Infusion of Light buff, and you have the Divine Favour buff, remember, Infusion of Light is when you get a critical on your Holy Shock, and after you use Holy Prism, you'll get the buff for Holy Light as well. So if you have those 2 buffs, we're going to use our Holy Light to do a massive heal. Otherwise, use your Holy Shocks, and you can use these pretty much on cooldown. Use your Judgment on cooldown on an enemy. Spend Holy Power if you have 3 to 4. Use Flash of Light for some ad hoc healing, and use Hammer of Wrath and Crusader Strike to generate Holy Power whenever possible. And that is the main rotation. Now let's look at cooldowns. Number 1. Divine Toll. It's on a 45-second cooldown and instantly casts Holy Shock on up to 5 targets within 30 yards. Holy Shock is this one. It's only 45-second cooldown, so it's a really easy one to use pretty much, often. Then we have Avenging Wrath. This is one of my favourites. Again, use it as often as possible. It's on a 2-minute cooldown. Call upon the light to become an avatar of retribution, increasing damage, healing, and critical strike chance by 15%. When you use it, you'll also notice you can suddenly use Hammer of Wrath whenever the hell you like. Meaning the enemy does not have to be at 20% health or less. Aura Mastery empowers your chosen aura. You can see here, Devotion Aura is the one I'm using. Damage reduction is increased by 12%. These are your auras down here. We have Crusader, Devotion, and Concentration. Generally, I go with Devotion Aura, which is on all the time and reduces damage taken by your party and raid. Aura Mastery increases that. Then we have a really interesting one, Blessing of Summer, Spring, Winter, and Autumn. This is going to cycle through. So Blessing of Summer, bless an ally, causing 12% of all healing to be converted into damage on a nearby enemy. When you use Blessing of Summer, it then turns to Blessing of Autumn, which blesses an ally, causing their cooldowns to recover 30% faster. After you use that, it will then turn into Blessing of Winter. And it basically just cycles through. So what does Blessing of Winter do? It provides a bit of a mana boost over its duration, and you can only really use that on healers, so you're pretty much going to be using it on yourself. And then lastly, when we finally get to it, it's going to be Blessing of Spring, which provides a buff to healing and also healing taken. So I would put that either on yourself if you want to, or put it on the healer that is going to be doing the most healing in that period. We've got Lay on Hands, which is an insane cooldown. Heals a friendly target for an amount equal to 100% of your maximum health. And then lastly, Beacons. This is really important and really underpins Paladin healing. You can put a beacon of light on someone, wrap a single ally in holy energy, causing your heals on other party or raid members to also heal that ally. So basically, if you put this on the tank and you're healing everyone else, that tank will get healed by everyone else, by the heals you put on everyone else. Healing the ally directly, so if you heal the person, the beacon of light, with flash of light or holy light, you will get 1 holy power. So if you use holy light here, or flash of light, you will actually gain 1 holy power when healing them. We also have Beacon of Faith, which is a second beacon you can put up, but that will be at reduced effectiveness. And you can put this on before the fight starts, and they will just stay up forever. Now, if we go through to the Mythic Plus rotation, and let's just literally look at the Herald of the Sun hero talents quickly as well, and look at the other important talents. But the Mythic Plus rotation, it's not really changing much. Herald of the Sun, casting Holy Prism, causes your next 2 holy power spenders to apply Dawn Light on your target, dealing radiant damage or healing. And that is your number 1 priority, remember, Prism. So it's kind of going around that. During Avenging Wrath, you become linked to your Dawn Lights, causing radiant damage to enemies and healing to your allies. Activating Avenging Wrath applies up to 4 Dawn Lights onto nearby allies. And Avenging Wrath is this cooldown here. So this is going to be whacking out a ton of healing through all of these hero talents here. It's really interesting. That's the kind of premise of it. I would have a look a little bit through the rest of them just so you understand it, but I don't want to overwhelm you in this video as this is beginner focused. When you're using your holy power spenders, Word of Glory and Light of Dawn, they gain up to 30% additional chance to critically strike based on the target's health. If it's a lower health target and you're using your holy power spenders on them, they could actually be healed for more. Casting Flash of Light or Holy Light now grants 1 holy power. I did touch on this earlier, but that is the talent that does it. So when you use Flash of Light or Holy Light, you will actually get 1 holy power as well. So those heals will also help you get more holy power. Holy Light also heals up to 5 targets within 12 yards for 8% of its healing, which is why it's so great in raid, especially when you have those buffs on it, because it's not just going to be doing it to that single target. It's actually going to be an AoE heal, technically. Well, not area of effect, but multi-target heal passively. We have Saved by the Light. When an ally with your beacon is damaged below 50% health, they absorb the next amount of damage. And then spending Holy Power has a 25% chance to trigger Saved by the Light's absorb effect, a lesser effectiveness without activating its cooldown. So those two work in tandem together. Passively, your beacons are going to get some absorb effects really nicely. Judgment empowers your next Word of Glory to automatically activate Light of Dawn with 25% effectiveness. So when you use Judgment and then you use your Eternal Flame, it's also going to activate a Light of Dawn, which is really, really nice. After casting Avenging Wrath cooldown, your next 2 Holy Shocks cast 2 additional times, and after casting Divine Toll, your next 2 Holy Shocks cast 2 additional times as well. So when you use those cooldowns, your little Holy Shocks here are actually going to cast additional times and do more healing. This is all quite passive and it's all underpinned into the rotation I've already shown you, but these are really important to know. Judgment will also heal you and its mana cost is reduced. 50% of overhealing from the effect is transferred to allies as well. So again, Judgment isn't just doing damage, it is also doing healing there. Allies of Beacon of Light also receive even less damage, so it's not just helping you heal them, it's actually meaning they take less damage overall anyway. While empowered by Infusion of Light, Flash Heal heals for an additional amount, and Holy Light and Judgment refund a little bit of your maximum mana. Really great for mana getting back there. And Holy Shock and Crusader Strike refund up to 10% of their mana cost and deal more healing or damage based on the target's missing health as well. Lastly, Infusion of Light has an additional charge, increases Greater Judgment's effect by an additional 50%, Flash of Light's healing is increased, and Holy Light's healing is all. So those are all the main talents that I think you need to be aware of. This is here going into the Mythic Plus rotation. We're not really changing anything, apart from rather than having a second beacon, because there's only 5 of you, you don't need that many beacons. It would be nice if we had it as well, but Beacon of Virtue is actually a lot more effective in a Mythic Plus environment. It replaces Beacon of Light completely. You apply a Beacon of Light to your target and 4 injured allies within 30 yards for 8 seconds. All affected allies will be healed for 15% of the amount of your other healing done. And it is only on a 15-second cooldown. So you can use this as your top priority in Mythic Plus and heal the entire group, technically as a beacon for 50% of the time. Hence why in Mythic Plus you do not need beacons, because Beacon of Virtue is so amazing. You probably will understand that you don't really care too much about this in raiding because there's so many people to heal, it just wouldn't be as effective, and having 2 beacons up at all time is a lot better. Now that we've gone through all of that, I just want to quickly take you through some of the utilities. Again, look through the spellbook and look through your talents and see how everything comes together, but these are the important ones. You have blessings, like Blessing of Freedom, Protection, and Sacrifice. Bop is a really interesting one to mention, especially in Mythic Plus, because you can basically bless a party member to be immune to physical damage, which you think, okay, fantastic. However, do be aware they will lose all aggro. So if you're putting this on a tank, they might actually be annoyed at you because suddenly they can't get aggro on the mobs they're fighting, and those mobs will go onto your team instead. And that is a caveat to this spell that often isn't mentioned. Blinding Light will blind enemies and cause them to be disoriented for a while. You've got Divine Steed, where you can mount up and run really fast in combat for a while. Divine Shield grants immunity to all damage, etc. Hammer of Justice can stun the target. We've got Rebuke, which is amazing in Mythic Plus. This is your interrupt. You can interrupt every 15 seconds, even as a healer. We have Cleanse, which removes all poison, disease, and magic effects, which as a healer you will be using quite a lot, especially in Mythic Plus. And lastly, Divine Protection, which reduces all damage you take by 20% for 8 seconds. And there we go. You now know how to play Holy Paladin in Season 2 of The War Within. And again, if you would like my UI or anything like that, or any extra help, do join the Patreon. It really helps support the channel. And I can give you any extra help that you may need through installing the UI, etc., should you wish to use it. Don't forget to subscribe. I do actually do quite a lot on this channel. As you can see, I do every single spec. I've done War Within PvP guides. You can see here, Season 1, 65 videos. I do every single spec, every single season. Pre-patch guides I do as well. I do WoW Classic and Cataclysm as well. I'll be doing Mr. Pandaria if you play that. I do also run the Javi Herobrine channel. If you're also into other games, this is my Minecraft channel. Do check this one out. It's all for modded Minecraft, and I teach everyone how to play mods in there. And I do also have my new channel, Javi How To, which I've repurposed into a variety gaming guides channel. So do check out this one if you're looking for all of the latest releasing games and how to get guides on those.